And our third main topic today gets submitted to us by Allan Wright. And Allan Wright writes, say that 3 times fast. Allan Wright writes, "Hey, John, I just wanted to know if you saw the story several sites are reporting on, including Cinemablend, which is a site I know you reference often." It is a site I reference often. I think Cinemablend is a fantastic, one of the better websites out there as far as the movie and entertainment industry goes. Anyway, I know it's a site you reference often, that Robert Pattinson and Matt Reeves hate each other, and Pattinson refuses to ever work with him again, which is putting any potential sequel to the Batman in trouble. What do you make of these reports? All right, thanks so much for sending that in, man. Yeah, Batman, or I should say The Batman, is a movie that, I mean, first of all, this movie was born in controversy, if you will, maybe more than that. It was born in drama. Let's at least say that. The Batman project that we have coming out was born in drama because, of course, it was surrounded the situation with Ben Affleck leaving Batman. Because don't forget, for a long time, Ben Affleck was supposed to write, direct, and star in a solo Batman movie. Something I desperately wanted to see. And I know a lot of you guys desperately wanted to see that too. And of course, then I was the first one to come out and tell you guys Ben Affleck was out. He wasn't going to be Batman anymore. And it wasn't for like another year and a half until Warner Brothers finally made it public and let people in on what had been true for a couple of years, that Ben Affleck was out. And then, of course, you know, they first announced that he was out as director and that they were bringing in Matt Reeves. And, you know, I wanted a Ben Affleck directed movie, but hey, if it can't be Ben Affleck, Matt Reeves is a terrific choice. He's a great director. But then, of course, they finally came clean that Ben Affleck himself wasn't going to be in it. Now we're going to have Robert Pattinson. That started its own bunch of controversy because a lot of people who don't really know much about movies are like, wait a minute, they're getting the Twilight boy to play Batman? Of course, people don't actually understand, you know, movies are more than just comic book movies. And Robert Pattinson has been spending almost a decade starring and doing amazing in these smaller indie films and getting the attention of all the directors in Hollywood, including Christopher Nolan, who made him one of his leads in his most recent film, of course. But everybody who knows Robert Pattinson's work was like, you know what? This dude is an A-list actor and he could do very, very well. So the whole project has just been simmering in drama right from the beginning. And it hasn't helped that, you know, over the past month or two, there's been all these unfounded rumors and stories. Oh, this problem with Batman and that problem with Batman and all that kind of stuff too. Like, oh, Robert Pattinson walked out of set. No, blah, blah. Now there's been a story floating around a little bit recently that Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson absolutely hate each other. They absolutely hate each other. And that Robert Pattinson will refuse to work ever again with Matt Reeves. That's the whispers have been going around some of the shadier corners of the internet, right? And of course, nobody gives that kind of BS any sort of credibility. However, when a site like Cinemablend starts running these headlines, because Cinemablend is not Gus's gas station reviews.fart, right? This isn't some obscure little, I mean, Cinemablend isn't exactly Variety, The Hollywood Reporter, you know, Deadline. It's not on that level, but I'd say Cinemablend is on that, just that next step down, where sites like Coming Soon and Joe Blow and Cinemablend, like really good, reputable, I believe really good websites and stuff like that. So the problem is, Cinemablend runs a headline saying the Batman rumor puts Robert Pattinson's sequel in jeopardy. Let's hope it's not true. So now what happens is, when there were just these little quiet whispers going around the dark corners of the internet, yeah, some people picked up on it, but most people knew well enough to ignore it. But when a site like Cinemablend runs it, well, then people are going to take it, understandably, they're going to take it a whole lot more seriously. Because Cinemablend is, again, they're not the Hollywood Reporter, they're not Variety, they're not Deadline, but, you know, they're a major player. And I reference Cinemablend all the time. I love this website. I've respected Cinemablend for a long time, all the way back to my movie blog days. I've always really liked this site, and I still do. They're great. So does that mean, since Cinemablend is running headlines now on this drama going on behind scenes that Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson hate each other, does that mean it's legit? Well, One of the things I always tell you guys is it doesn't matter what website you're reading it on. Follow the source. Look to see where that website is getting their information from. And when we do that, it seems to paint a little bit of a better picture for us. This comes to us from Cinemablend, who wrote the following. Anticipation for the Batman has been steadily building, with limited footage arriving last summer that revealed Matt Reeves' ultra-realistic vision for the blockbuster. Fans are eager to see him face a trio of villains, and there are also plenty of theories about who might pop up in a potential sequel. Unfortunately, a rumor surrounding the Batman is that Robert Pattinson and director Matt Reeves are feuding, with the Twilight actor not wanting to work with Matt Reeves again in the future, which is of course a problem if Matt Reeves is directing another Batman movie. This wild report comes to us from WeGotThisCovered.com and should be taken with a giant grain of salt. Let me read that last sentence again. This wild report comes to us from WeGotThisCovered.com and should be taken with a giant grain of salt. All right. This story does not come from Cinemablend, even though Cinemablend ran a headline. All Cinemablend did was they took a story from We Got This Covered and they decided to run it as a headline of their own. Now look, I often talk about how I am not here to talk about other YouTube channels. I'm not here to talk about how other outlets do their things, but because Cinemablend is a site I reference all the time and I hold in extremely high esteem, I will say this. Cinemablend, what the F are you doing? You know, listen, Cinemablend knows well enough that if it's coming from WeGotThisCovered.com, it's bullshit and should 100% be ignored, which is what almost everybody else did. Everybody ignored it, because it was coming from WeGotThisCovered.com. So everybody knows well enough to ignore it. And Cinemablend knows well enough to ignore it. Why they chose to run a headline on that is beyond me. And saying, well, you know, it should be taken with a grain of salt. No. If you're running a story that has anything to do with WeGotThisCovered.com, you should be saying straight up to your audience, do not believe this. There may be 0.5% or maybe even a 1% chance that this rumor about Robert Pattinson on the Batman and Matt Reeves feuding, there's a 0.5% to a 1% chance, just like there is almost in anything in life, then maybe it could be true. But basically, if it's coming from WeGotThisCovered.com, you should ignore it. Now, the ramifications of this go further, because not only by a respectable site like Cinemablend, which is great, running this headline, I got tons of messages last night from people like well-intending people like the one who sent in the main email here for our topic today. Because now, well, wait a minute. This isn't We Got This Covered. This is on Cinemablend. There's got to be something to it, right? I got dozens of messages via social media, in the comment section, being sent in directly as a topic. And here's the other thing. Because Cinemablend ran it, a couple of other sites ran it as well that weren't going to run it because it was on We Got This Covered. But since Cinemablend ran it, well, you can just say we heard this from Cinemablend. And you see how this terrible, chaotic game of broken telephone starts to go. Look, am I sitting here telling you that it is impossible that Robert Pattinson and Matt Reeves don't get along? Of course, that's not impossible. They're human beings. Sometimes human beings don't get along. However, it's coming from WeGotThisCovered.com, which I believe, let me just double check my, 1 second, carry the 4. Yes, they're carrying a 0% accuracy rate. Still 0. Or at least damn close to 0. So no, it shouldn't be listened to at all. Also, Robert Pattinson has never, other than that time that I got so pissed off at him because he was talking about, yeah, I didn't even bother working out for Batman. And that just pissed me off. Now, apparently he's come out afterwards and said he was joking about that, but oh my God, that pissed me off. Anyway, so Robert Pattinson has never had a reputation of being difficult. He's never had a reputation of not getting along, or at least being able to act cordially and professionally with all the different people he has worked with on the wide variety of films he's worked with. He's just never come across, other than that whole thing about I won't work out for Batman, he's never really come across to anybody that I've spoken to as any kind of a prima donna. Nor has Matt Reeves. I've heard Matt Reeves can be a hard director, but to me, that's a good thing. There's a difference between being hard and being completely unreasonable. I like leaders who are hard and without crossing the line into becoming completely unreasonable. I like that. And I think when you have two professionals like that work out. So number one, it's a story that doesn't make sense. But more importantly, you got to remember it came from WeGotThisCovered.com. So pay no attention to it. And I will say this, only because they're one of my favorites. And I'll only say something this critical to somebody who's one of my favorites. And Cinemablend is one of my favorites. But Cinemablend, come on, man. Come on, man. Like they would say on ESPN. Come on, man. You knew what you were doing. You knew it was completely unreliable. And putting in a little line like, oh, it should be taken with a grain of salt. No. It shouldn't have been run with in the first place. And if you were going to run with it, you should only run with it to clarify to your readers they should not believe this rumor if they read it. But your readers never would have heard of it if you didn't carry it, because you're Cinemablend, and by you carrying it, it's now respectable. It's now got some credibility because Cinemablend ran it. So come on, guys. You know what you're doing. Do better, because you're one of the best. So please do better. Anyway, guys, the question is for you. What do you think about this? Maybe you're one of these people that you believe that there's big drama going on the set of Batman. Because don't forget, there was also like the same people that recently were saying, oh, the Warner Brothers executives hate the new Batman movie. And that was all BS too. People just seem to be obsessed with causing drama with this movie that was, to be fair, kind of born in drama in the first place. What are your guys' thoughts on this? Jump on down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.